Hey good people, James here again. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about winter watering, and watering in the wintertime? Why? Well, the why is that root systems don't go dormant. There's a real misconception as to the dormancy of a tree. Trees, for all intents and purposes, in this region and most of the United States, go dormant from the ground up. The root system is very active. The root system doesn't have to go dormant because it's typically in a place where it's not going to suffer from the extremes of the winter weather. And so it's very actively taking up nutrients, oxygen, water, all the things that it's doing during the growing season. I've already talked about, and if you watched my other video where I did the presentation at the home show, I talked about the fact that fall is really a great time for paying particular attention to the roots. But it doesn't just stop in the fall. You need to be thinking about it through the winter time. So people ask me, we've shut off the water to the lawn. How on earth do we water the tree during the winter time? That's where a soaker hose comes into play. Now, a soaker hose is made of a material that allows it to, for all intents and purposes, sweat all the way around, all the way along the hose. So if you can get these in 25, 50, 100-foot lengths, and it all depends on the size of your tree or grove of trees. If you have multiple trees, how big of a soaker hose that you want to have. Now, this isn't something that you turn a high volume up on, because if you'll notice when you get your soaker hose, there's actually a regulator on the very end of the hose as to how much water can go in anyway, because we don't want water squirting out of the hose. We want it to, as I said, sweat out the hose. So you just put a half a turn, maybe a full turn, depending on what the pressure of your water is off your hose bib. You come off of the house is where you typically have water year around. You bring that out with your traditional garden hose, and then you're going to, as I said, put this around the tree that needs to be watered. And of course you can move it around at different times. I get asked how often, and that really just depends on the weather. Did we get some good rain in the last couple of weeks? Well, we probably don't need to water. Snow is irrelevant, especially in this area. We need so much snow, especially the dry snow that Utah is famous for. We need so much dry snow in order to be a significant amount of moisture. I don't really even pay attention to just how much snow was on the ground at any particular time. Now, I'm going to tell you first of all where you don't water. You don't water at the base of the tree. You see this tree well. This is great for keeping the lawnmower jockeys and people who are string trimming away from the base of the tree and doing damage to the tree. That's why you do a tree well. It's not where you water. You water out in the place that nature intended, which is called the drip line. The drip line is that area where, if you've ever stood under a tree just as it starts to rain or in the light rain, you'll notice that it has a tendency to push the water out to the very edge of the canopy. Subsequently, the name or the by which it's known, and that is the drip line. So you run your 25 feet of hose around the edge of the drip line, and that's where you're going to water. Okay? Now, the method of watering isn't so important as the watering itself. So if you do nothing more than get your garden hose and put it out at the edge of the drip line and turn it on again, a full turn, and let it run there for a little bit, and then move it to another area and move it to another area, that will suffice. There's hose end applicators that you can put on the end and push shaft down into the water, or to water into the ground. The soaker hose and Those are probably the most common and the most efficient. But once or twice a month, December, January, February, and if we aren't getting enough precipitation in March as well. We usually get a 40, 45 degree temperature sometime, a couple of times in that month. Recommend at least once, better if you can do it twice, deep water around the drip line of the tree, particularly for your cone-bearing trees or your conifers. So there's your tip today. If you can't hug a tree, hug a qualified arborist.